Hey guys, Razorblade Mango here, and today I wanted to briefly talk about a game that came out a while ago in the year, but one that I felt compelled to make a video about because it's one of those that just makes me sad. Let's talk about Ghostwire Tokyo, which is the latest game from Tango Gameworks, published by Bethesda, obviously. Maybe the very last Bethesda game that will ever come to PlayStation. And oh boy, what a what a downer of an ending this was. So, for those who have been following the channel for a while, at least as far back as when the PlayStation 5 was first revealed, you will know that I have found Ghostwire Tokyo to be very visually compelling. I love, even in the final product, I love the way this game looks. I love the art direction. I love the creature design. I love all the little visual details that it has. I love how flashy the animations are in a lot of cases. And I was really hoping this would be good. I really, and this is one of those times where my good feeling turned out to not be true. My gut instinct betrayed me. Because when I looked at the trailers for this, I thought, okay, this looks really good. I have a good feeling about this. This should be really fun. This should be a nice game to play on PlayStation 5 with the haptic feedback and all the fancy stuff that the controller can do. And then I saw gameplay for it, uncut, that state of play or showcase or whatever it was called that they did, and I thought, yeah, actually, wait a minute, this doesn't look all that great. And then it came out, and I heard it wasn't all that great, and then I ended up not buying it, because initially I wanted to buy it, because they also had it at a discount, but even then, $53 for a game I probably wouldn't like. But thankfully, I borrowed it from a buddy of mine. He finished it pretty quickly, and he's like, "Here, you try it." And I think beautiful bore would be the best way to describe Ghostwire Tokyo, because this is just such a frustrating game. It hits just two of my pet peeves when it comes to modern game design, where the visual presentation is so creative and unique and eye-catching, but it's just slathered over the most boring, generic, cookie cutter game template you possibly can. And in this case, it is the way, even like 10 years ago, way oversaturated open world game design, specifically the Ubisoft school of open world game design, where you just fucking jizz out a bunch of icons on a map and it's like, here you go, this is your open world game. And when I looked at the map for the first time, once I was done with a little bit of the story stuff and I started unlocking some of the collectibles and side missions you could do, I looked at the map and I went, oh no, when I saw how cluttered it was. And yes, I know you can turn it all off, you could customize it however you want, I get it, but as far as the default, oh my god, it made my eyes twitch a little bit just looking at it. It was just too much. And this isn't like weirdly, I'm going to contrast it to an Ubisoft game, or Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is one of the best games Ubisoft has done in like 20 years. That game lets you seek things out, and then once you find it for yourself, then it puts it on the map. And and it makes the world all that much more fun to explore. But when all you are searching for in Ghostwire Tokyo are these like generic collectibles that are just This is so frustrating to me because this game, I could see how it could be good. And again, this is another pet peeve of mine with game design, is that and again, it's a game that its scope far outruns its depth as far as the replayability, as far as the combat variety, because it's just if the combat was much better, I feel like the grind and the tedium would be lessened. But because the combat, all it really is just spamming a bunch of attacks at these enemies until their cores are exposed, and then you rip them out. That's all the combat is. That's really all it is. I mean, sure, there are options. You can do, like, stealth with the bow and arrow, but the bow and arrow fucking sucks. And also, the talismans you can use to expose cores and to stun them, they cost, like a not, like, crazy, at least in the stun, but for those exposure talismans, they cost a ridiculous amount of money. And then, so it just becomes literally a case of just these 3 attacks. You just use wind, water, and fire, and that's it. And I feel like for a game that you could possibly be spending upwards of like 50 hours completing to 100%, that gets old so fast. The novelty of doing these like ninjutsu fucking hand gesture attacks, it's the novelty of it just evaporates after a while. And this game, I could see a version of it being good if they just shortened it to 8 hours. Just make a dense, fun 8-hour linear game. You can have levels, break it up into levels, and have those levels be explorable little bits in certain sections of the city. That is an approach that I would vastly prefer compared to this. And I think this could work if you just, again, shrink it down to 8 hours, make it a little bit more linear, break it up into chapters, and just throw all these garbage side missions and these garbage collectibles out the window, and use that time and energy that was just needlessly spent on all this crap, and use it to improve the story, flesh out the combat more, make the game prettier. All that time that was spent on this boring, busy work, just use it on something that would actually help the game rather than hinder it. But the way it is now, with just the story and the way it's paced out and everything, it's a fucking mess. Because there's this total disconnect from the story going on. And a lot of open world games have this problem, but it's really emphasized here, where the main character has to rescue his sister, and it's like, hurry, there isn't much time. But then you can just easily fuck off to whatever side collectible bullshit you want to do and totally forget about your sister. And then by the time you reach her in the game, like 30 hours later in the main story, it's like nothing ever happened. There's no need for this urgency. So it just takes you out of the story. And the story is just so boring. Like, all these characters are so dull and uninteresting. The only one that's maybe kind of could be something is KK, the spirit that possesses your body that gives you those powers. But the relationship, like the buddy cop relationship that he's got with the main character, is just like, it's so just painfully played out after all this time. And all these other characters, and then by the end, when it really tries to like pull on your heartstrings and tries to make you feel all these like emotions and shit, I was so bored. I was just like, can you get on with this, please? Can you just cut out all this stupid inner monologue, this stupid emotional crap, these stupid flashbacks that go on for an eternity? That all of a sudden becomes a walking simulator where you have to walk through all these emotions. And it's just, oh my god, it's just, this game, and this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler for another video that I'm going to do later about another game, Stray, which I played very recently, the cute cat game, which is a game I love. I think it's lovely. I think it's wonderful. This game, Ghostwire Tokyo, makes me appreciate Stray all the more, because Stray is a masterclass in pacing and getting out right before it starts to outstay its welcome. That game, Stray, it takes to heart that classic William Shakespeare quote, "Brevity is the soul of wit." And that makes Stray all the more special. That is so condensed and tightened and short. And it's wonderful. It's like this bite-sized little bit of food that tastes amazing. Whereas Ghostwire Tokyo just was like, fuck all that shit, and just throws all this crap, this needless time-padding crap into the game. It's like this buffet where all the food just tastes bland. It has this great presentation, it's lit beautifully, but when you actually taste the food, it's like, ugh, there's no flavor to this. And Tango Gameworks continues to be the developer whose games I should like. I don't know how the fuck they're headed up by a legend like Shinji Mikami, and they just keep making these fucking games that are just so just bland. They're just the milk toast of games. They're just so bland. They look so interesting visually from an art direction, but they're just so fucking boring and so bland. I don't understand what's going on over there. They really need to just, I don't know. I really do think they need to just purge some of the talent that they have and bring new people in. I don't understand what's going on at this studio. I really don't. And I maybe should have seen the telltale signs with this game when the original director left like a year or two after the game was announced at E3. Or I think it was actually less than a year that she left, less than a year after it was announced at E3. So maybe that should have been a warning sign of this game's quality. But, oh man, it's just, man, what a bummer this turned out to be. Like, this could potentially be the last game we get for PlayStation from Bethesda, at least the last original game that we get. And God, what a, man, PlayStation got a raw deal with this. Oh man, they just, man, I don't know what Sony saw in this to want to buy a year of exclusivity for this game, console exclusivity for Ghostwire Tokyo, but Jesus, man, Sony really bet on the wrong horse with this one. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Ghostwire Tokyo, a game that's all gloss and no substance. And even the gloss doesn't compensate for the lack of substance. It's just, man, what a bummer this turned out to be. A game that visually seems like so my thing, and yet in every other area, it's just not. It's like the exact opposite of my thing. So there you go, Ghostwire Tokyo. One of the most disappointing games of 2022. And a complete wet fart of a finale for Bethesda's time on PlayStation.